Let's bring in House Minority Whip Steve Scalise to talk more about this. Congressman, good to see you. Let's first of all play a little bit of a new NRCC ad that targets these vulnerable Democrats when it comes to defunding the police. Listen here.
Defund the police? Abolish prisons? Nancy Pelosi and Democrats in Congress have lost their minds, and now they're calling for violence.
Law and order that led to some big losses for the Democrats in November of 2020. You expect this will be a winner again, Congressman?
Hey, John and Sandra, it's good to be with you. And look, people don't want to see police defunded, and in every community across America, you see that. The Democrats, for whatever reason, have just gone all in on this crazy idea. But there's other things, too. I mean, you've already seen what they're doing with opening our borders, with just continuing to kowtow to China. They won't confront China. And then jobs in the economy continue to be a big issue. And frankly, when you go around the country, every small business person you talk to says they're looking for workers. And yet what you saw in that boondoggle, the wasteful spending, the corruption in that last spending bill that had very little, over 90% had nothing to do with COVID, it's giving checks to felons in prison and all of that kind of stuff. Green New Deal, that's killing energy jobs. People are fed up with that kind of socialist agenda. We're talking more about helping families get back on their feet, rounding the corner on COVID, getting kids back in the classroom where all the science says kids should be in the classroom. But the liberals in Washington want to just continue bending down to these liberal unions that want to keep kids out of school. So they're disconnected in Washington from the reality. And I think that's why Speaker Pelosi, this socialist agenda she's pushing, is out of touch with America.
Congressman, the violence that we're seeing across America in some of these big cities like New York over the weekend, a spike in the number of shootings that we saw, it's horrific. To pick up the paper and read the headlines as we come out of these weekend cities like Chicago, reeling from spikes in violence there as well. So what is the plan? What's the strategy for the GOP heading into 2022 to use this defund the police movement against Democrats?
Well, Sandra, we've always stood for safety and security, you know, both abroad and at home. And I think that's being lost. A lot of these mayors that are letting their cities get out of control with crime because they've actually gone down the road of defunding police with devastating consequences. And when you see crime in a lot of these communities just getting more and more out of hand, you're seeing people leave in droves. Look at New York. I think New York State's lost over 300,000 people in the last year because they've had these radical shutdowns. They've defunded police. And people are fleeing and going to states that are run with much more sane, conservative leadership. Here in Florida is where we're at having this conference. Things are open. People are happy. People are coming down, and their economies haven't suffered, and their students aren't being denied the opportunity to go back to school. So follow the science and also inject common sense and stop going after and attacking good police and trying to defund the police and undermine our national security.
Congressman, defunding the police is one issue. Funding everything else is another issue. After spending $1.9 trillion on COVID relief and wanting to spend $2.2 trillion on infrastructure, the Biden administration is going to be announcing before the speech to a joint session another $1.8 trillion dedicated toward the American Families Plan. This spending spree, I guess is the best way you can put it, has drawn the attention of people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said this at the Biden White House the other day.
I do think that the Biden administration and President Biden has definitely exceeded expectations that progressives had. I'll be frank, I think a lot of us expected a much more conservative administration.
Yeah, at the very beginning of this administration, it looked like progressives weren't going to be too happy. Now they appear to be thrilled.
Well, that's because President Biden is governing like a drunken sailor when you talk about this spending. I mean, my God, trillions and trillions of dollars, and one bill was over $2 trillion. This bill is going to be over $2 trillion. Who do you think is going to pay for this? And this money is being borrowed from our kids and our grandkids, from China, and for what? To pay people not to work, to give money for all these Green New Deal kind of socialist ideas. They're giving checks to felons in prison. They're giving checks to people who come across the border illegally. And hardworking people are sitting there going, wait a minute. They realize they're going to be paying more in taxes. When Bernie Sanders is the budget chairman writing the bill on taxes, does any American out there think it's not going to affect their pocketbook? Of course they do. They know the price. It's going to cost us jobs. They're already running jobs off to foreign countries, canceling the Keystone Pipeline pipeline was a gift to China, to Russia, to Saudi Arabia. What about American workers? That's who we ought to be working and fighting for right now. And those are the ones who are picking up the tab for all this reckless, corrupt spending that we're seeing, that there's no end in sight right now from Biden and Pelosi.
But Congressman, you know the way that the Biden White House pushes back on that, as they have said so many times before. They tell the American people no one making under $400,000 a year will see their taxes go up. You live in the great state of Louisiana. What do you tell residents there when you see these massive spending plans, when you see all those zeros and you tell them their taxes will go up? By how much?
Right, and that's the real question. Does anybody believe that their taxes aren't going to go up? And oh, by the way, President Biden's already broken his original pledge because he said it was going to be $400,000 a family. Now it's going to be $400,000 a person. And we know that's not even going to hold because their spending just keeps getting more and more. I mean, they're doubling and tripling the amount of money that they're borrowing and spending, and all on things that have nothing to do with infrastructure. You look at the latest infrastructure plan, more than 75% of that has nothing to do with roads and bridges and broadband and ports. So again, it begs the question, what are they spending that money on? And of course, you look at the details. It's the Green New Deal. We will have a higher tax rate than communist China in America if Biden and Pelosi get their way. And that means we have less jobs. Those entry-level workers, the middle class that President Trump was bringing back when we cut taxes, those jobs will all start going away again. I don't think that's what America bargained for when Joe Biden ran, and ultimately when you look at how they're governing in a very far left socialist way, America's still a center-right nation. We don't want to see socialism come to our front door, but it's here.
Can I just do one quick follow-up on that? Why does the stock market keep going up then? With all those warnings and all that spending and the potential for taxes to go up, how do you fathom that the U.S. stock market just continues to go up, down a bit at this very moment, but at record highs?
Yeah, there's still a lot of money out there. And I mean, look, again, when Washington's printing trillions of dollars, that gives you a sugar high. And I think we're seeing that sugar high. But we all know, I mean, I've got young kids. For anybody that has kids and they give them a lot of sugar on Halloween night, you all know what happens about an hour or two later. It's not pretty. And that day's coming.
All right, fair enough. Steve Scalise from the great state of Louisiana. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thanks. Great being with you.